comprehension, there is a lot of research generally says narrative. But the question I have. No, research is heavily biased towards narrative comprehension. Early reading research. Yes. But the question that, if you go into detail, comes in also from the fact of how much of it is knowledge based. And you spoke about vocabulary, but I'm also wondering in terms of conditioning from school, because they seem to be even positioning language texts as expository material. And would that be yes, yes, the reason? So, would be very interesting to see what your analysis comes up with, and if there is any trend there. Also, what we realized by analyzing textbooks of EVS and to a certain extent mathematics texts and English, that the concept of exposition, they are more frequently acquainted with that. Whereas narration is a part of their oral understanding. But when it comes to, reading narrative texts in a language like English, which is not a part of their lived reality, then certain phrases and expressions are alien to them. Also, question framing, I'm sure, is more. Questions were, that's a huge discussion. They were parallel, and there were lots of constraints with which we created the questions so that linguistically they are at the same level. So we did not, so that was not one of the. Not linguistically, but I was wondering, knowledge based wise, they may not have the prior knowledge to articulate themselves in narrative structures as much as for expository text because they're acquainted. I'm just, it's again a supposition. Right. Yeah, we could talk about huge literature. Just wondering about those language questions. The second question is addressed to Ramayan Shiolyan. The point that you made about this multilingualism of the homework and the text that the teacher has used. One, I was wondering, is it post-COVID or pre-COVID era? One. Second, it is very conversational, and it's very similar to how radio jockeys talk, literally interspersing, and whether those were effects that the teacher and the students were replicating. It's just a question that I had of the socio-demographic. This was post-COVID. And this teacher particularly has been doing this kind of work with translation and everything. That is, she gives them tasks which they do not like doing. And she's an English teacher and they have to write it in English. And then it struck her, maybe the task itself is not interesting or it's that they are not able to. So starting with giving their own story endings and talking about it to writing and writing it in their language and then translating it into English. It was a continuous set of activities. Then this is also one such which I've just shown, where they were asked, and they're very eager and willing to talk about them, what's going on in their mind. In fact, one task was where on one of their birthdays, their sister scolded him or something, and he's writing why. Correct. Yeah. That seems to be prominent in this WhatsApp page where they're typing. But no influence of any sort. Here the teacher is sort of trying to get them to use as much language resource they have to express what goes on in their head. Can I ask? Just to add to that, what you have just said, I have this experience of teaching immigrant learners English. And they were not able to communicate in any other language other than Pashto and Urdu. Both of them don't make sense to me, but a little bit of Urdu made sense to me. So what I tried to do in the class was to allow them what that teacher was doing. Just sandwich everything, sandwich whatever English that they had with whatever prominent language they were using. And I had this very curious and meticulous kind of a learner who was a victim of domestic violence. She had a lot of baggage and other things, but still at the end of 3 months of rigorous training like this, where she was consciously interspersing her Urdu with English, she was able to speak and she cracked the citizenship test by the Home Office and she got her visa granted. So this was one of those success stories. And I was so surprised to see that in writing. Because in speaking, we have always practiced this kind of a chord mixing or switching, whichever. So, but I'm really suspicious about
whether we should really encourage that kind of writing practice. What is your take on that?
Yeah, see, I do not have an answer to that. How long do we want to encourage this kind of a mixing, matching, translanguaging, even translanguaging, for example? When it comes to teaching, teacher does a lot of translanguaging, translation, code switching, everything. But when it comes to testing, they're very wary of allowing children to do that. That's because they are monolingual tests and they're clearly told to penalize. So I don't know when we will change this approach and attitude. But then if we can, of course, there is a genuine thing about, do we want them to be very proficient in one language? Fully and in that language alone. Yeah, we don't. When I went to Delhi from Hyderabad, I was quite shocked to hear meetings and then discussions and presentations. Nothing was only English. Nothing. I think JNU also. It's a Delhi university. I was quite, and then I got used to it. So I got used to talking in Hindi and English together. It was difficult for me to just speak in English or just speak in Hindi.
JNU is entirely English, but our public sphere is multilingual. It's not Hindi, multilingual.
Yeah,
but classroom entirely in English.
Even talked about in the morning. I mean, sometimes not it comes till now because it's only Hindi and English that are coming out.
I just want to ask this question. Like when you get that freedom, the teacher gave the freedom. Why it is only between two major languages?
Correct. Yeah,
I mean, the children's own home languages still don't come. So there's still a kind of hegemony.
Definitely.
Linguistic hegemony.
Students say, although the teacher knows their language is Haryanvi, they say, Hamari bhasha Hindi hai. So they sort of hide that thing about other languages.
We can take one last question. You want to ask?
Adding on to the point, I think recently Shobha and you had a conversation where IGNOU's answer scripts are increasingly in this mixed and duality, and tri-languages, 4 languages codes mixing is happening in answer scripts of adult education. And the Madhya Pradesh government around 2018 had said that the MBBS exams could be written in Hindi or English. And I have teachers who regularly write their answers, 300 of them at a time, who write in this code mixing and code switches. This is increasingly happening where conversational English, conversational language is coming and reflected in academic write-ups. And it's seen more prominently post-COVID, where WhatsApp typing and those formats have become part of what your academic discourse and formal discourses could be. So it's also a trend that is being seen, and again needs more investigation as how these evolve. I have huge problems assessing it as an examiner, but they are there.
I just want to add one thing. Even the Common European Framework of Reference, they talk about levels A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. At levels A1, A2, they did talk about bringing in their mother tongue. And in fact, there's a whole book by Neil Jones on how they can bring in their own language. But then their own tests don't reflect it. Their scale, their assessment rubric does not allow the use of the mother tongue. But then there is a lot of research, there's a lot of thinking and everything. But at least for A1, A2, you can allow. But slowly they have to transition into only English or only Malayalam or Kannada or whatever. So there's a lot of...
How teachers go about, getting a score.
There has to be a policy.
We have developed a scale. When I was in Delhi University, we had a scale for all this, for speaking. We had an English proficiency course. We had a scale which accommodated their Hindi, or of course, sadly, only Hindi, but then Hindi and English. But only for A1, A2 levels.
Okay. Thank you, Lena, and thank you, Rama. This was a wonderful session. And of course, assessment troubles us. We have more questions like, how does the state look at this kinds of multilingual assessments? Because finally, they have to, accommodate this in their final exams, like 10th, 12th, or whatever.
Need of the hours, the teacher to do this more boldly, more
Confident,
More classroom kind.
and in an assured manner. No.
No, we shouldn't wait. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you everyone. And thank you, Sajida, for having us. It was a lovely first day of conversation and discussion. Look forward to tomorrow's sessions as well. Thank you.